Hello students. Today we'll be starting with an important topic of your syllabus, that is gametogenesis. We'll be covering this topic in many videos. Gametogenesis involves the formation of gametes. Now, as you know, gametes are of two types. One is the male gamete, that is the spermatozoon or the sperm, and the female gamete, that is the ovum or the egg. In today's video, I'll be talking about spermatogenesis. This topic I'll be covering in two videos, that is today's video and the subsequent video. Now, before going into the actual process of spermatogenesis, we need to cover certain important topics before that. So I have divided my presentation into 4 sections. First, I'll be talking about the different cell types present in a multicellular organism. The second section deals with the origin of germ cells and their migration in invertebrates and vertebrates. The third section, I'll be explaining the topic of gonads, and the fourth section will be covering the two types of gametes. Now, the body of a multicellular animal consists of two main types of cells. First is the somatic cells and second is the germ cells. Now, the somatic cells form the organs that are concerned with the life of the individual animal only. And these organs, consisting of these somatic cells, carry out all the vegetative functions of the body, like nutrition, respiration, transport, coordination, excretion, support, movement, protection, etc. The somatic cells themselves multiply by mitosis and they perish with the death of the animal. The second category of cells is the germ cells. The germ cells are embryonic cells and they have the potential of developing into a gamete. Now, the germ cells themselves divide by or multiply by mitosis. You have to remember that. But they form gametes by meiosis. And these are meant for the propagation of the species by sexual reproduction. Now, let's talk about germ cells. When an embryo is formed, just after fertilization, one of the first events that takes place is the formation of a germ cell line. This germ cell line actually arises from a specialized cytoplasmic constituent, that is the germ plasm, which pre-exists in the egg before fertilization. And the earliest recognizable germ cells in a growing embryo are called primordial germ cells or PGCs. So students, you have to understand that where do the germ cells arise from and when? The germ cells arise from the germ plasm, which is a specialized form of part of the cytoplasm that is present in the egg, that is the gamete, the ovum, even before fertilization. So the ovum contains the cytoplasm and some part of the cytoplasm is specialized and is called as the germ plasm, which we know in future will give rise to the germ cells. When the egg is fertilized, by the sperm, this germplasm then forms new cells, which is called as the primitive or primordial germ cells. This is the start of the germ cell line. Now, when we look at the primordial germ cells, whether the embryo is a male embryo or the female embryo, so both the sexes, the primordial germ cells are almost similar. So they are indistinguishable from each other. They only acquire their sex-specific characteristics later on in the stage of development. Now, these primordial germ cells arise at a location that is at some distance from the location of the presumptive gonads. So, where the gonads are going to arise from, that location is quite separate from the location of where the germ cells are arising. The germ cells then migrate to that location where the gonads are developing, and they integrate or incorporate themselves into the gonads and are then called as stem cells. These stem cells keep on dividing by mitosis, and they form a large mass of germ cells which helps in the growth of the gonad. Now, the germ cells in the gonads are closely associated with and are supported by somatic cells. So, in the gonad, there are germ cells as well as somatic cells. The somatic cells provide support and nourishment. The examples of such kind of somatic cells which support the germ cells are the follicle cells in the females and the Sertoli cells or the nurse cells in males. So, how do we answer the question? Where do the germ cells arise? They arise in the embryo itself. Even before the birth of the organism, the germ cell line has started being formed Now, what is the origin of the primordial germ cells and how do they migrate? First, we'll be taking the case of invertebrates. In invertebrates, I have two examples for you. First is Ascaris, that is the roundworm. The segregation of the germ cell starts during cleavage. So, when there is the first cleavage of the embryo, that is the first division of the embryo, or the zygote, I should call it the zygote. It divides into two blastomeres, the animal cell and the vegetal cell. And the vegetal cell gives rise to the primordial germ cells, which then migrate into the gonad. So in Ascaris, the germ cells, they develop from the vegetal cell and then move into the gonad. In Drosophila, this is a fruit fly, an insect. A specific area appears at the posterior end of the egg, which is rich in RNA, and this induces germ cell formation. Now let's look at the picture, the figure that I have for you. Now this shows on the left, these are the actual photographs of the growing embryo of Drosophila, and this is the diagrammatic representation of that. Here we see that there are specific cells present at the pole of the egg, which are called as the pole cells, which are the germ cells. Now these germ cells migrate through the midgut. This yellow region is the posterior midgut. They attach to the mesoderm. This red structure is the mesoderm. These red cells are the precursor cells of the gonad, so they will eventually form the gonad. The germ cells, the primordial germ cells, then align with the gonadial cells, and ultimately you can see here the gonad is formed. This gonad on the outside has the gonadial cells which have arisen from the mesoderm, and inside are the germ cells, that are the primordial germ cells. So as we can see, the germ cells originated from the pole, whereas the gonads, the presumptive gonads, originated here from the mesoderm, and later on the germ cells migrated within the gonad and integrated itself inside the gonad. Now let's talk about the origin of primordial germ cells in vertebrates. In Petromyzon, a cyclostome, the germ cells arise from the primordial germ cells at a later stage, and they arise from the coelomic epithelium. In fishes, Amia and Lepidosteus, the germ cells arise from the endoderm, whereas in urodeles, the kind of amphibians which have tails, the germ cells originate from the lateral mesoderm. In anurans, that is frogs and toads, another kind of amphibians, the germ plasm of the PGCs originate from the subcortical area of the vegetal pole of the egg before cleavage. So just like we discussed in Ascaris, it was the vegetal cell, here it is the vegetal pole of the egg, the subcortical area of the vegetal pole of the egg, which has the germ plasm from where in future the PGCs will originate. Now in reptiles and birds, the germ cells are extragonadial in origin. So that means that the germ cells arise away from the gonad. Extragonadial means outside the gonad. The primordial germ cells originate from the endoderm of the extraembryonic part of the blastoderm anterior to the head region. So there is an extraembryonic part of the blastoderm which is just present near the head region. At that area, the endoderm gives rise to the PGCs. The PGCs then leave the endoderm, penetrate the blood vessels, and ultimately reach the site where the gonad is there. This occurs in reptiles and birds. I'll be showing you a diagram, a figure of the same. In mammals also, the primordial germ cells have extragonadial origin. Again, they originate from the endoderm and then migrate into the gonad. Now this is a figure which shows the migration of primordial germ cells in the chick embryo. So as we discussed, they originate in the extra embryonic part of the blastoderm, that I am not showing. I'll just be showing how they migrate. So first of all, just let's look at how a primordial germ cell is there. This is the actual electronic microscope photograph of this primordial germ cell. So this is the diagrammatic representation. This is a section. So this whole area is a blood vessel. These are the blood cells, and the primordial germ cells have left the endoderm and have entered inside the blood vessel and are migrating along with the blood. From here, they leave the blood vessel, enter into the mesenchyme, and ultimately then go towards this genital ridge. This genital ridge is composed of the gonadial epithelium. These primordial germ cells will become integrated in the genital ridge. If we look at the actual picture of the slide, here you can see this is the aorta or the blood vessel. These are the blood cells, and all the PGCs are marked with black arrows. So these are the PGCs. They have left the blood vessel and are going towards the right genital ridge or the left genital ridge through the mesenchyme. So they are migrating through this. Now we look at the mammals. Figure A shows a 3-week-old mammalian embryo. Here we can see the primordial germ cells are originating from the wall of the yolk sac. So yolk sac is a extra embryonic membrane. At the junction of the yolk sac and the allantois, this area, the primordial germ cells arise from here. And in figure B, you can see they migrate along the wall of the hindgut and the dorsal mesentery and then reach here and here. These are the genital ridges. Now how we will define gonads? They are the primary sex organs as they produce gametes. The gonads of the male animal are called as testes. The gonads of the female animal are called as ovaries. In hermaphrodite animals, where both gonads are present, they are sometimes termed as ovotestes, for example in snail. In some animals, gonads develop temporarily, so there is seasonal variation. The example is hydra, a coelenterates. In some animals, some primitive animals like sponges from phylum Porifera, they do not have organized gonads because they do not have organ level of organization. So the gametes are formed from unspecialized cells which are called as archeocytes. So these are the gametes. This is the ovum. This ovum has the nucleus, the cytoplasm, and you can see the centrosome present near the nucleus. This is the perivitelline space that is present, the zona pellucida and the zona radiata. And this is the comparative size of the spermatozoon. So gametes are of two kinds. The male gametes are the spermatozoa and the female gametes are the ova. The male gametes are minute, smaller in size, they are motile, they have specific cell organelles, they have axonemes for movement. They are free of food, they do not have any stored food inside. While the female gametes are quite large in size, they are non-motile, they do not move, they do not have any organelles for their movement. They are food laden. Most of the gametes, with some exceptions, have stored food inside them. Now both the gametes provide equal contribution to the nucleus of the zygote, each providing a haploid genome. So each gamete has haploid number of chromosomes, and when they fuse together they form the diploid zygote. So they give equal contribution to the nucleus of the zygote. However, if we look at the cytoplasm, most of the cytoplasm of the zygote comes from the ovum. When gametes are produced by different parents, such condition of animals is called as the unisexual condition, or they are dioecious animals. And if those parents can be distinguished externally or morphologically, then that condition is called as sexual dimorphism. When both type of gametes is formed by the same animal, then such animals are called as bisexual, monoecious, or hermaphrodite. And the process of gamete formation is called as gametogenesis. In the next video, I'll talk in detail about the general phases of gametogenesis, and we'll talk specifically about the phases of spermatogenesis. These are the references that I used for making this presentation. Thank you.